Now for all things Gators, all things orange and blue. Frangie, and Dan Hicken.
Yes, sir.
That was not a good one on Saturday. How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, se-ortho.com for all your orthopedic needs. It went exactly how I expected it to go, but it's still so hard to watch. It's so hard to watch. I can remember to this day, I used to get angry at a lot of Gator media boys who loved Muschamp and told me how good he was at defense, and then they played Alabama. And he broke a school record. He gave up 650, 670 yards to Alabama. And I was angry. And I had those same feelings Saturday night when I watched the defense of Florida give up 700 plus yards of total offense to LSU. I don't care who's playing quarterback. It's not a good feel. And yet the Gator team provided me hope in the second half, Frank. I had a little hope. There's a little whooping and hollering at 28-24. And then the LSU shut the door, and, we're in the middle of it, man. We are in the middle of it. And there's a lot to talk about, lots to unpack, but we'll start with the LSU game. And it was just, that guy's just not getting better, Frank. I want to see the young guys. Who are our stars? Who are our guys that are, oh, this guy's getting better. Oh, I like how this guy's progressing. Our defense has gotten worse each week. I don't like that.
Well, I think what's happened is this, and I've thought a lot about this, Dan. I really believe this. When Billy was given the keys to the program, he's blow it up and start over. Well, part of that is the problem is you can't run off or let all your veteran guys go.
Right.
If you a lot of the old guys that are gone, the offensive linemen, the Mincy kid at Tennessee, Braun at Arkansas, Tarkin at USC. If you look at, Xavier Henderson's playing very well at Cincinnati. If you go through all those guys, the Hopper kid's a good linebacker at Missouri. There's probably 10, 12 guys that left because they didn't want to be part of a rebuild.
Right.
And I was thinking about this the other day. In 1994, Florida brought in great freshmen, Ike, Riedel, Fred, right? But if all you would have had were those freshmen, they'd have been overmatched. You also had Kevin Carter and Ellis Johnson and Henry McMillan, all these old guys. I think what's happened is no one's quite sure how to manage the portal yet. So Billy has kind of not been good at the portal. So all the young guys who I think will be good players are playing now. So you got 22-year-olds going against Florida's 18 and 19-year-olds. That's what Jaden Daniels looked like he was toying with those guys.
Yeah.
Because he's been around. So I don't believe those guys are bad players. Some are. Man, there are young kids out there. You got high school age kids playing with NFL age people.
Yeah.
And I think I'm not making excuses. I think that's the way we're managing the portal, the way he blew it up. A lot of the old guys left. He's not done a great job bringing in portal guys. So your key guys are these young kids. And I think that's a big part of it. I really do. And I think that there is a story on in allkindsofweather.com. I don't know who owns it, but it's in allkindsofweather.com. If you read it yet, it's really long, but it really tells the story. And essentially it is, here's the good. He's probably going to build culture. He inherited a bad culture. He's probably going to build a roster. He's probably going to build it the right way. And that's all good. The bad is he doesn't appear to be a great game day coach, Dan. And we saw that from the very first game. So can he become a better game day coach while he's stocking the roster? And I know I'm getting ahead of myself. That's not LSU game.
Right.
But the LSU symptom, I think, of the fact that a coach learning how to do it is playing a bunch of young guys, and the result is 700 yards of offense. That's what I think.
Yeah, and listen, you mentioned, that there's more. The Chatfield guy at Oregon State and the kid at Virginia Tech, Rylan Powell, or, those kids are having terrific seasons as well. So I like that point. But I know how this story goes, Frank, and I'm going to tell you right now, and I'm going to give some advice to the athletics director. And, because the LSU game is what it is. It went how we thought. Florida's defense is terrible right now. They have no answers. The offense is better. They got 35 points. I can't criticize the offense. I could sit there and go, well, why does Eugene Wilson disappear? They still scored 35 points. So I'm okay with that. But I'm going to tell you how this story goes, my man. If I was Scott Strickland, I would call Billy in and say, Billy, I got your back. You know that. I'm going to give you 4 years. Okay. But let me give you a bit of advice. Patience. When you sit through the games as Gator fan and they lose, they're probably going to lose to Missouri. They're probably going to lose to FSU. They're not going to go to a bowl game. and you're going to open with Miami next year, who's good in the trenches. I'm going to give you advice if I'm Scott Strickland to Billy Napier. I got your back, but Billy, and I trust your process, but I would suggest to you, you go a little heavier on that portal this year and you find some guys who can help you right away because, my man, you got to win early next year so we can, we know we're not going to be great again next year. Well, that's year 3. I know this fan base, and I know what just happened with Jimbo Fisher. And I know people are saying, if they can pay that guy $100 million, why can't we pay our guy $30 million to go away? I'm just telling you how it's going to go. If you start out slow next year, and we don't know the exact schedule, we know you open with Miami, we know you got Sanford second, but then we'll see. And you're 2-5 and reeling. They ain't putting it up with it, man. I'm just telling you. So my advice to Billy Napier is maybe you don't want to hit the portal. I know you're good at evaluating. I'll give you credit, but you're losing a couple guys in recruiting right now. It's a little wobbly. You got to keep recruiting, got to keep adding players, got to get a top 5 class, got to. But you're going to have to hit that portal, my man, and really stock up and try, because we don't know who's going to leave the program either, Frank. There may be a couple guys who surprise us and say, you know what, this place ain't for me.
What you just said is 100%. That's as smart as you've ever been. I never thought, that might be your smartest moment ever. but seriously, Dan, you said exactly right. The minute December 20th comes and they sign that top 4 class, the minute that's over, you have to work the portal like never before, because you have to get your 4th year. You said it perfectly. You're not getting that 4th year, which he deserves, if they stink again.
Right.
So to keep from being lousy again, or what they are this year, you've got to go find the portal guys. Look, that 24 class is going to make you good in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Just like this class, Kelby Collins and Norman and Cersei, they're good players. Eugene Wilson, and I think Mizell and Gene, those are good players, but they may not help you keep your job.
No.
What's going to keep the job so we can see all those guys is a bunch of portal guys. You're dead on. Let me tell you what else they need. They need Graham Mertz to come back.
Yes.
Everybody needs to, he's coming back. Don't assume yet. He's 23 years old. He's going to finish with 24 touchdowns and 3 picks and 72%. And he's going to test them. He's going to test the NFL waters. Why would he not?
Yeah.
He's 20. Even if he doesn't look like an NFL quarterback, they all test it. Dan.
Yeah, sure. Listen, I would agree with you on that, but I don't think he's going to like what he hears. I don't see it, so I think so. Florida, again, they'll pay him to come back. So that's the pot. So make sure you're in touch and in tune, because you need Graham Mertz back in the worst way. You don't need to go find another portal guy who you're going to at that position. Not when you can have Graham Mertz, who has exceeded all of our expectations.
So Mertz is back. Lagway learns under him. Lagway runs some of the more RPO type plays. They both play. You work hard in the portal, because again, we can talk all we want. They're going to get blasted in Columbia, Missouri on Saturday night, and they're probably going to lose at home. Although I think the FSU games are more interesting than people think. Playing in the swamp, playing at night. FSU's good, but they've struggled at times in games. We'll get to that next week.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's going to be a hard one this week. We all know that. We all know it's going to be a hard game this week. No one's going to debate that. But I really do believe that what you hit it, man. Get that. First, you got to get that class signed. That's first. But the minute that you've got to do better than you've ever done in that portal, because you got to win enough in 24 to get to 20. You get to 25, and you're not getting to 25. If you don't, the one thing that's happened here, not by anybody's fault, the leash probably got shortened because they've looked poorly coached. That's the reality of it is. And so hopefully that'll get done. The coordinator, the special teams guy, all that. Having said all that, what chance do they have Saturday night against Missouri in your mind?
I think Missouri is like a better Kentucky, so I don't give them much of a chance. I think it might be even look, Jaden Daniels was the difference maker for LSU. Missouri has a heck of a running back. And Brady Cook's a good quarterback. I don't like our chances. I think we're giving up 450 yards of offense again. And I get, like, the weakness of LSU was the defensive backs. But again, I don't find fault with what Billy was trying to do, which was run the ball, because we can't just give, even if we had scored in 4 plays and we're giving the ball right back. I mean, we weren't going to outscore them. We got the 2 4th down stops in the first half, but so no, I don't give them much of a chance on a cold night in Como. And Missouri has a lot to play for. They're sky high. They're coming off a big win against Tennessee. It's the 4th year for Drinkwitz. He's proven something. I don't give us much of a chance at all. Do you?
Thinking, but I'll tell you what I would do, and I'll tell you exactly what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing defensively is not working. We now know that, right? So stack the line of scrimmage. Do that. What they did against Tennessee, where the whole line moves like Georgia does, and try to the line out. I would have 8 in the box, and if Brady Cook throws it over the top, he throws it over the top. But don't keep getting gashed. This Raider guy's a good back, man. Don't keep getting gashed by quarterback running the ball. If they throw it over the top and Kimber and Marshall can't keep up, and they probably can't because they're having miserable years, I can live with that. But don't quit getting gashed.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have 7 in the box there all game long.
I agree.
You got to stop getting gashed by these runners. So I would say, and he's got to tell Austin Armstrong, Austin, blitz, pack the line of scrimmage. If they throw it over the top, we get the ball back.
Yeah.
And that's better. Death by 7 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, 20-yard runs. They're driving you crazy. So that's how I would play that game. I will say I dare I say the offense has gotten a little more fun to watch.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, the 2 backs are good. Mertz has been very good.
Ricky and Eugene have been great. Yeah.
I do wish I wish I knew more about why we're not seeing Gene and Mizell. Are they running the wrong route? They're just not ready.
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to trust your coaches. They'd be like Trey Wilson. They'd be playing them if they were ready. I get that. I understand that. But I do wonder, I wish we saw more of those guys.
Let me ask you one other question. I've been floating this around a little bit in my head. I watched the Gator game, obviously, but I watched a little bit of Georgia, and I don't know the kid's name, but Georgia and Alabama, the great programs do this. And I've noticed this through the years. Like Georgia, and I'll give you an example. They had a guy number 33, and he's a true freshman, and they're all raving about him. He's a linebacker. And they've slowly worked him in, okay? And you can see he might be the next big thing. And I also saw Marvin Jones' kid playing who's also a young guy. And so what these programs do is they start they don't count on those guys, but as freshmen they get a series, and then they might get 2 series, and then in a blowout game they might get a quarter, and you start to notice them, and they develop them that way. I wonder about who are we developing, Frank? Like who are on defense, who are the stars? And you had a good point that made me rethink it a little bit. They're so young, so I get that. Maybe they're just not physically capable yet of being that guy. But I want to see. I don't want to see 700 yards. I have 450 against Georgia. It was like 280 against Utah at the start. Boy, I want to see some guys where they're a little more consistent. They're not out of position. Like, Scooby Williams will make a great play, and then you'll wonder why he's over there when the ball is over there. You know what I mean?
Well, you're 100% right. But what's happened, Dan, back in the day when Florida was really good, Damian Easley and Sharif Floyd and Kenneth Powell didn't have to start.
Right.
Tim Tebow didn't start as a freshman.
Right.
Because you rosters that you could ease them in. Well, that's what's changed. Scooby Williams probably would be fine if he was playing 25 plays a game. He's playing 60 because he's all you got.
Right.
And same thing with the 2. They're playing 2 freshman safeties. A freshman safety should never start in today's college football. Florida's having to start 2 of them. Now, that's 2 years, if you get to the 2 years, So, but I just think back to your point, you hit it. Sign that class, and then somehow, some way, you've got to get portal guys so all those freshmen don't have to play. And I think that's a very big part of it. But I would crowd the line against Missouri, and I would listen. I got a hunch you're gonna score a little bit in that game. Look, you're gonna go 5-7 and miss a bowl. We both know that. Everybody knows that. So have fun, get your offense going, get Mertz to come back, do work well on the portal. But you said it. You don't get to 25 if you're miserable again in 24.
You just won't. We know that. We've seen it too many times, Frank, too many times. And we know how
right.
It's a reality. It's a reality. I mean, watch it. It's happening all over college football already. There's guys who aren't going to, get, and there's various explanations for it. Let's talk just quick hoops note. I watched your Gators on Friday night. Okay, a couple things. I know they're missing the kid who's supposed to be the point guard. Is that correct? And
am pulling.
and if that's the case, they really missed him at the end of the game Friday because our guy who's supposed to be this tremendous athlete apparently can't dribble. So he got we had three times in a row where we're losing the basketball and we got to get a shot off to win the dadgum game. So that was a little bit disappointing, the way it all kind of played out. But there were some good things happening. And I think they'll be better this year. I think it's an important year, though, for Todd Golden to get them to the tournament. I think that has to be where Florida basketball is this year.
I agree with you. Two things about it. Number one, the bigs are pretty good.
Yeah.
And is pretty good.
Yeah.
How played Samuel. The bigs are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Kugel, I thought, had a terrible game. I thought Kugel just tried to do too much. He was forcing stuff. He needs to let the game come to him a little bit more. I'll say this about Walter Clayton. He's a combo guard. He's a good player, but he's having to handle the ball too much. He messed up at the end of the game. The pass to Samuel was a terrible decision, and then he dribbled the ball away on the last possession. But I think when he's more combo guard, he and Pullen are both back there together, switching off.
Right.
And I think Virginia really plays defense. I really do. So I will judge them more. Obviously, they'll beat FAMU tonight. We're doing this on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I'll judge them more after the FSU game when they're all out there. But I think, I agree with you. I told you. I don't know how good they'll be. They look more like an SEC team now. Get to where you're 5 or 6 in the league. Get to where you get that 8 seed, that 9 seed, win a game in the tournament, and that's progress. And that's the and so I got a decent. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid this time. You've admonished me properly.
Yes,
proper admonishment. I deserved it. But I do think they look more the part. And I think it'll be fun to follow them. So we'll see.
And they're gonna have to win some big games to get to that 5 or 6. The SEC is good. There's a lot of good teams, so they're gonna have to win a game. Maybe knock off a Tennessee at home or Arkansas, or they're gonna have to win a couple of those games to earn their way into the tournament.
I said that to you last week. This is what's happened. The SEC was never any good.
Right.
It was Kentucky and whoever else had to be good. Florida for a while, LSU for a while. All of a sudden, you looked up and Buzz Williams is at A&M and Nate Oates is at Alabama and Bruce Pearl's at Auburn and Rick Barnes is at Tennessee. All of a sudden, the league's good.
Yeah.
Nobody counted on blinking, and the SEC is good at everything else, but it was never good at men's basketball. Well, now it's good at men's basketball, and so you're going to have to. But I'm intrigued with this season. The bigs are better. We haven't seen Pullen, who he averaged 18 last year for whatever school he was at. So I'm looking forward to the Friday game. Tonight's game is one more game without him, and they'll beat FAMU easily. But I'm really looking forward to the Friday game to learn a little bit more about him. So we'll see. Hey, listen, I got basketball covered. You keep that recruiting class together. That's your job.
It's a struggle, buddy. It's a challenge. I mean, we've lost 2 and 2 are wobbly. So that's the latest. So keep an eye on that and feel free to add a couple more too. I mean, don't stand pat. So got to keep grinding, but I know he does. Look, he's a good recruiter. It's a challenge, man. It is a challenge to do this in the SEC. And if he can sign a top 5 class, hats off to him for that.
Yeah. And who knows, maybe they shock the world and beat Florida State, and this is a whole different podcast. So we'll see what happens.
All right, bro.
That's all Things Gators, all things orange and blue. Dan Hicken and Frangie.
Thank you, SE, Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, se-ortho.com. All your orthopedic needs in North Florida. Frank, have a great week.
You too, Hick.